Hello everyone. If you've known me for a while, you know that my channel, Overcoming Loss, is dedicated to exploring the depths of pain and emerging into hope. But today, the story I'm going to share is not just about grief. It's about the moment when the very foundation of my life gave way. It's about my emotional breakdown and the unexpected journey of reconstruction that followed. The loss of a loved one is not just a physical absence. It's the implosion of an entire universe you built alongside that person. It's a deafening silence where there were once laughs, a cold space where there was warmth. And when that absence became my new reality, I didn't just cry, I shattered. I clearly remember the day the news arrived, a sharp, unrelenting blow. But the breakdown, the darkest part, didn't come immediately. Grief has its own cruel timeline. First came denial, a protective bubble where I functioned on autopilot. I was organizing funerals, receiving condolences, replying to emails, like a robot programmed for the task. My body was there, but my soul had departed for some distant place, unable to process the magnitude of the disaster. Denial is a heavy armor, and when it cracked, what lay beneath was a despair so vast it had no name. Weeks later, the armor splintered. That's when the world stopped calling me, when visits became sparse, when everyone else's life resumed, but mine remained frozen in time. Suddenly, the bed became my only sanctuary and my prison. It wasn't just sadness. It was a total system failure. I couldn't take a deep breath. The simple act of getting up and getting dressed felt like climbing Mount Everest, and food, once a source of pleasure, became unpalatable. I spent days without sleep, and when I did sleep, it was only incessant nightmares. My mind, once a place of thoughts and plans, turned into a chaotic battlefield of guilt, anger, and a paralyzing existential terror. That was my emotional breakdown, a complete surrender. I was submerged, no longer fighting to breathe, just sinking. I stared at the ceiling and wondered, how am I going to live again? The pain wasn't just emotional. It was visceral. It was physical, an intense ache in my chest, a headache that wouldn't stop. I felt crushed. If you've ever been at this point, where the simple idea of a future without that person is an impossible burden, know that I understand. I've been there. I broke, but that breaking, as terrifying as it was the starting point for my true reconstruction. It was my forced enough is enough by the universe. And the first lesson I learned, sinking in that void, was the hardest one. I needed to allow myself to break so that I could then find the pieces to rise again. This is the initial point of our conversation. The bottom of the well is a terrifying place, but going to the very bottom gave me an unexpected clarity. I wouldn't be able to climb out alone. An emotional breakdown is not just profound sadness. It's an illness that affects brain chemistry, reasoning ability, and even body function. Recognizing this was my first and greatest act of courage. The stigma surrounding mental health is a huge barrier, and I had to tear down my own. Saying out loud, I am not okay and I need professional help, initially felt like a confession of failure, but I discovered it was a survivor's declaration of war. I decided to seek out a psychiatrist and a psychologist. If your mind is on fire, you need firefighters, and these are the professionals. The psychiatrist helped me stabilize my nervous system, which was in total meltdown. Talking about medication is always delicate, but for me it was a lifeline. The medicines didn't erase the pain. The pain of loss is inevitable and must be lived. But they acted like a windshield so I could see the road again. They reduced the intensity of the paralyzing anxiety and allowed me to minimally sleep and eat again. Without this initial stabilization, therapy would have been ineffective, as I could barely form a coherent sentence. Therapy, in turn, was the deep excavation work, the true foundation of my reconstruction. With the psychologist, I began to disarm the landmines of guilt and anger I had planted in my own mind. He gave me permission to feel everything without judgment, to cry for 50 minutes, to express rage against fate, against the loved one for leaving, against myself for not doing more. I remember him telling me, pain is the price of love. You can't negotiate one without the other. This sentence freed me from the illusion that I had to get over the pain quickly. Seeking professional help was the most important investment I've ever made in my life. I had to overcome the fear of others' judgment and, more importantly, my own self-judgment. If you are stuck in the well of grief and collapse, don't view the search for a therapist or psychiatrist as a last resort. View it as the first step to honoring your own life. It is a commitment that you are worth the effort of saving yourself. And for those still in doubt, asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you a warrior fighting for your own emotional survival. With the support of the psychiatrist and the therapist, I had placed my feet on the bedroom floor, but the world outside still felt hostile and too big. The pain was still there, massive, but I was no longer drowning. The next challenge, and perhaps the most practical one, was rebuilding my routine, which had completely disintegrated. When you are in collapse, simple tasks like brushing your teeth or getting a glass of water become impossible missions. And that is precisely where the micro-victory strategy came into play, a concept my therapist helped me develop, and which saved my sanity. A micro-victory is exactly what the name suggests. A small, ridiculously achievable goal that you complete to prove to your mind that you are still capable of action. It's not about running a marathon. It's about putting on your sneakers. My first major goal was taking a shower. For days, the idea of taking off my pajamas and facing the water felt like a betrayal of my grief. But one day, I said, I will stand under the shower for 60 seconds. I did it, and the feeling of accomplishment, however small, was a ray of sunshine in the darkness. From there, I started listing my micro goals. Day 1, take a shower. Day 2, take a shower and eat breakfast sitting at the table. Day 3, take a shower, eat, and check the mail, and so on. This technique broke the cycle of inertia. I was no longer focusing on the massive absence. I was focused on the next small step. Each micro-victory was tangible proof that life, although painful, had not completely defeated me. And the reward was not a prize. It was the very sense of self-efficacy. Resuming a routine is fundamental because it imposes structure where there was chaos. It forces the mind to reconnect with the real world. I went back to work part-time, started cooking one simple meal a day, and even forced myself to take short walks in the park. Each of these activities was accompanied by waves of sadness, yes, but also by a small and growing sense of competence. I was training my brain to associate movement with life, not with pain. And most importantly, I learned to be incredibly gentle with myself. If I failed to meet the day's goal, I didn't blame myself. I just rescheduled it for the next day. Remember, the goal is not perfection, it is persistence. The path out of collapse is not a giant leap, but the patient accumulation of countless tiny victories. With routine minimally established and constant professional support, the pain of absence didn't disappear, but it changed shape. From a monster that paralyzed me, it transformed into a scar, a reminder of the immense love that existed. At this point in the journey, the challenge became existential. How to give meaning to life when your foundation has been shattered. I needed to reframe the pain. Reframing is not forgetting. It's not pretending the loss was positive. It is the act of changing the lens through which you view the event. The question stopped being, why did this happen to me? And started to be, what do I do with what is left of me? This shift in perspective was the catalyst for finding a new purpose. For me, reframing involved transforming the memory of my loved one into an active legacy. Think about the values that the person you lost cherished most. Was it kindness? Was it education? Was it helping the vulnerable? I decided that the best way to honor the life that was lost was not through my eternal suffering, but through my own continuity and happiness, carrying their values forward. I started getting involved in a social cause that was always important to both of us, but that I had neglected. Donating time, energy, and, above all, my story, gave me a sense of usefulness that grief had stolen. Volunteer work did not fill the void. Nothing can fill the void left by loss, but it filled my day with meaning. Every action of helping others was like a positive echo of the person who left, living on through me. Creating a purpose after loss doesn't have to be grandiose. Can be creating memory rituals, setting aside a special date to cook the person's favorite dish, and inviting friends to share good memories. Learning something new, starting a hobby or course that the loved one always wanted you to do. helping other grieving people, offering your time in a support group, or using your experience to comfort someone who is just starting the grieving process. I understood that life after the loss would not be the same as before. It would be a new life, in which pain and joy coexist. I am the sum of my experiences, and the love I felt, and the resulting pain, are now an inseparable part of who I am. Finding a purpose is not closing the chapter. It is turning the page so that the story continues, inspired and honored by the eternal memory of the one who departed. We have reached the point of integration. The grief journey doesn't have an endpoint where the pain magically vanishes. What happens is that we learn to carry it, or rather, to carry the longing saudade, which is the love that remains after the loss. Accepting the loss and finding a new purpose are giant steps, but it is in integration that life truly redefines itself. It's about allowing the memory of the loved one to occupy a new space, no longer as an open wound, but as a valuable part of your history that helps propel your future. This means there will be tough days. Anniversaries, songs, or even an unexpected scent can bring the pain back with surprising intensity. In these moments, the key is self-compassion. Don't judge yourself for regressing. Cry. Allow yourself to feel the absence. The pain is a testimony to the love that existed. Maintain memory rituals. Light a candle, visit a special place, write a letter. Honoring the memory is not getting stuck in the past. It is bringing the love into the present. Focus on what you have built. Remember the new purpose you found. The legacy you are building is proof that your loved one's life continues to have a positive impact. Over time, your energy, which was once entirely focused on the pain, begins to turn forward. You start to embrace new paths without guilt. This may mean new friendships, new hobbies, and even new romantic relationships. This is a delicate topic, but it is essential. Living fully is not betraying the memory of the one who is gone. It is, in fact, the greatest form of tribute. Love never dies. It transforms into strength, purpose, and longing. Life after grief is an expanded life. You carry the pain of the loss, but also the immense wisdom and resilience you gained by crossing the darkness. The void remains, but around it, you build a new landscape, more conscious of the value of every moment. If you are starting this journey, remember the 3 essential lessons. Allow yourself to feel, seek professional support, and, in your own time, transform the pain into something greater. You are not your loss. You are your capacity to love and to continue. Move forward. Honor your story. You will be okay. If you stayed with me until this point, know that this journey of self-discovery and healing is your greatest proof of strength. I cannot promise that the pain will go away, but I can guarantee that, in your own time, it will transform into a beautiful and eternal longing. Remember, longing is proof that the love was greater than life itself. May the legacy of the person you love become your greatest inspiration to live. May you feel worthy of being happy again. Thank you for accompanying me in this intimate and delicate space. I hope today's words have been a hug for you. If this video has touched your heart in any way, I ask for 3 things. Share this message. Someone you know may need to hear that pain, however overwhelming, can be transformed into love. Leave a comment. If you feel comfortable, tell me in the comments, what is your biggest takeaway from this journey? Your testimony might be the light someone else is searching for. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Be part of this community of support. We will continue to explore themes that help us transform suffering into growth. Remember, you are not alone. I am here. We are here. With all my affection and respect. See you in the next video.